Alright, listen up everyone. They've announced that the technical regulations are changing for next season. Now there's a risk a lot of our hard work could be undone if we're not careful, so let's figure out how to mitigate this. Drivers, take a look at the developments we have and let us know what you want to invest in protecting. Alright everyone, let's get on top of this.
What is up guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Once again, we are back with F1 2020 Career Mode. This is episode number 18 for the Japanese Grand Prix. As you saw from the intro clip there, we have a regulation shake-up heading our way for Season 2. Now, I'm going to get to that in a second, but the departments which have been affected are the power unit side and also durability. So, in terms of development areas that could have been affected, I feel like we've done relatively well. We've done a lot of our development on the chassis and the aero side, and they're completely untouched. So, I can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief heading into Season 2, but that said, I still need to consolidate a few power unit components in order to not lose performance heading into next season. But yeah, here we are guys for another episode. Leave a like if you enjoy this type of content and subscribe to the channel. We're only 10k away now from 500,000. Oh man, I cannot thank you guys enough for the support you guys have been giving me over the last few days. Just ever since F1 2020 came out, to be honest. And I hope that I've done you guys justice. I hope you're happy with the series, and long may it continue. Upgrade-wise, we're going to work on the front downforce, which will take priority very, very soon. But before we do that, this is I had to rewind. This was actually just before the regulation change got announced, and I decided to go for an ERS upgrade, and that'll hopefully help myself and my teammates to run and overtake a little bit more, because we'll be recovering more battery. But what I'm also going to upgrade is the front downforce, which failed heading into this episode, and that'll actually go on the car before the Japanese Grand Prix. So a matter of only days away, that will go on the car. So that'll be a handy little upgrade, especially as we run through Sector 1 of the Japanese Grand Prix. You need all the downforce you can get, essentially. So, yeah, things are looking good. The weekly income is getting up there. We're earning well over $1 million a week, and that's not including the bonuses we get from Grand Prix. So, yeah, we're getting a steady influx of cash now. Speaking of which, you can see there we're at the second highest peak we've had so far since starting our team. So we're looking good. One thing I'm also doing is I'm actually saving money. I'm saving up for my teammates, which we will choose at the end of the season. I've seen someone on Twitch, they got to the end of Season 1, and essentially, you have to pick your teammate before you get your end of season budget, at least from what I saw. And so that's what I'm saving for, someone decent before the budget comes in. So that's the logic there, and we can then spend the end of season budget and goal bonuses and whatever on upgrading the facilities and the car. So we're gonna head into practice. No, I think we're done with practice now. We did a few runs, weren't very competitive, and that's because we were running with a super old engine. Most of them components 1 and 2, a couple of which dipped into the 90s in this weekend, so we won't be using those again for the rest of eternity. And we can chuck on some brand new power unit components, or the newest we've got, essentially. That's essentially going to be the strategy now for the final 5 races of the season. Basically just using the best of what we have, and I feel like we should be fine. We've taken enough grid penalties, enough extra engines in order to get ourselves over the line with the shocking reliability we've got. But anyway, it is time for the Japanese Grand Prix, time for quali. We have a wet race though. That'll be interesting. And there she is, the beautiful beast itself. I've seen a lot of comments growing lately. A lot of people criticizing the livery, more specifically the sponsors we've got on at the moment. Well, not a lot of people. I think it's a minority. Some people don't like the green energy sponsor that we've got on the Halo. I actually love that. I think that flows with the car so nicely, but there's a couple individuals in the comments and on Twitter who are not happy with that. Can we please get some opinions in the comments? Let me know whether you actually like it or not. I feel like a lot of people do like it. It's just that a couple people don't. But anyway, I thought it flowed nicely and made it green because it's an energy drink. You know, it's the new Monster Energy. We're gonna put Monster Energy out of business. Such will be the success of Marduk Motorsports. But that will have to wait. Possibly another season. We're not there yet. We're still residing in P20 in this Japanese Grand Prix, and life is not looking good. 5/10 up, though, on this next lap, so that is a little more encouraging. Don't know what I was doing on this first lap. It must have just been going for a Sunday drive, it seems, but we come across the line, improved by 6/10, and that well and truly gets us in the game with the midfield. We're essentially joining the train. You can see how close it is from myself to Mick. He's in P13, and is on course to make it through to qualifying too. So 3/10 to find, and I feel like we could do that. One thing that is worth mentioning is I've gone for a wet setup here in qualifying. Well, it's parc ferme conditions, you can't change the setup, and so I've gone for a wet setup because the whole race is going to be heavy rain, and so I'm compromising Saturday in order to make Sunday a lot more fruitful. So I'm not expecting amazing results out of this qualifying session. If I can get out of Q1, that would be amazing. But I won't be disappointed if we're starting P18, P19. I'd like to start further up than that, but I'd understand regardless, because we are running maybe 1 or 2 clicks higher downforce on the front and rear wing than what I normally would if it was in the dry. This is just to get extra downforce for the race session. But we improved by another 3/10. We come across the line, and we do make it out of qualifying 1. So a little bit of yeeting at the end of the session, a bit of track evolution, and it means that we just squeeze through to the next part of qualifying. However, in order to do that, I've used up all my tyres. So I've got nothing to offer as we head into Q2. I'm basically going to be last out of anyone who sets a time, and we're going to move on to that now. And yeah, what were you expecting? P16, same for Mick as he was in Q1. It's P15 and 16 for the Marduk Motorsport boys. So it's alright. It's decent. It's not too often that Mick actually gets himself out of Q1. So I will take that small amount of progress. And it means that, who knows, in a couple of races time, well, hopefully, ideally today, he will be in a position to score points. It's time for the Japanese Grand Prix.
We come to you live today from the Mie Prefecture in the south of Japan's Honshu Island for a race that has seen many title deciders over the years. Some simple, some controversial, but all contributing to a legacy that makes the Japanese Grand Prix an indispensable stop in any Formula One season. Alongside me to discuss all the action today is Anthony Davidson. And thanks for joining us, Ant. And tell me, you were down in the pit lane earlier. How do you think the track conditions are today?
Well, it's looking a bit cold out there, if I'm honest. These tyres have quite a narrow operating window in terms of the temperatures they need to extract the best grip. So with a cold track surface, it's going to be harder to keep those temperatures up, which will lead to lower grip and maybe more mistakes.
Okay then, it is race time for the Japanese Grand Prix. I am a little bit apprehensive as to how this race is going to go. Very slippery conditions, to say the least. Heavy rain for this race here in Suzuka. And it looks like it's going to stay for the whole race. Wet to wet. If we're lucky on tyre wear, we might be able to get away with a no stop. But the notion of that is pretty scary. So I think I'm going to play it safe and go for the 1. We might even switch to intermediate tyres if we are extremely lucky to get off the extreme. Let's have an extremely good start. Away we go for the extremely damp Japanese Grand Prix. As expected, it's been an absolutely dreadful start. We get jumped by Raikkonen and nearly Pierre Gasly as we head into turn 1, side by side, squeezed off by Raikkonen. Or is that potentially wishful thinking from me? I think it is the latter there. We still try to get past the Alfa Romeo, and its visibility is very difficult, it seems, on this first lap. One thing which I've kind of taken for granted is the name tags that we normally have for the AI. It makes it a lot easier to spot them in conditions like this. Right now, all I have to rely on is the color of their car and the rain light that sits out the back of the rear wing, under the rear wing, in between the rear wing and the diffuser. I'm sorry guys, my commentary today is just going to be absolutely crap because it's 3 a.m. and I'm running on not much here. Anyway, it's been a good start. It's actually been pretty good. It's P14. We drew alongside our teammate and we, oh my goodness, hold it together, Ben. Nearly bin the car on the first lap of the Grand Prix, but thankfully we're actually still in the race. I got a bit greedy there on the power and I was utilizing overtake to deliver more horsies to the rear wheels and it's not worked out. I think Ricciardo jumps us in the end there as it kind of glitched and made it look like it was wetter than it was. Well, it looked less wet than what it was, and then it started to spray a whole lot more after I got the wheel spin, coincidentally around that time. Either way, it's P15 and we need to get back past Ricciardo and then catch up to Schumacher. 130R. I did not even see Ricciardo there. This is dangerous. This is really bad. Like, alright, so no wonder the F1 drivers, IRL, really, I don't know, they struggle for visibility. This is what we're seeing right now is probably only a tenth of how bad it is in real life. I don't want to imagine how difficult it is to actually race in conditions like this. So, fair play to Formula One drivers when it does rain, or even, well, in general, they are very brave, but especially in interchangeable conditions, let alone heavy rain. Lap 3, change of subject. Let's see if we can get past Daniel Ricciardo. The pace, it seems pretty decent at this stage. One thing you may not be able to tell is I'm kind of holding back. I'm still finding my bearings around here at Suzuka in the rain. It's a little bit hard to find your lines and spot your braking points, especially when there's just so much spray going around. It's just a sea of grey. It really is hard to spot where you're going, especially in Sector 1. When I'm tucked up the rear wing of someone, it makes life very difficult. There goes my teammate. Speaking of difficult, he doesn't make life difficult for Daniel Ricciardo. Slightly more difficult for me, as I now have to negotiate him. And it's not been a good few laps here for Marduk Motorsport. We could have been in P13, 14, respectively, but we seem to be falling backwards a little bit. I don't imagine this will be the trend for the rest of the races. I actually feel like we've got a good car under us in this one. The setup seems to be working well. It's just me, in the early phase of this Grand Prix, not quite having the confidence to push and go for overtakes and really just feel out how much grip I've actually got under me. I feel like we've got a decent amount. It's just a case of unlocking that, burning off some fuel, and just building that confidence. As we can see, a massive, oh my goodness, overlap on our teammate into 130R. We do get the move done. That was bravery at its finest here. We had to just poke the nose up the inside. Mick saw us coming, and he actually let us go. Oh my goodness, that was so close. So damn close. So here's the replay, 130R, slowed it right down, and it does not get any closer than that. It really doesn't. That's got to be the move of the series so far. That's I don't know what I was thinking. That was probably more stupid than brave, to be honest. We could have easily ended both of our races there, but it's worked out. We've gained a position, and now Schumacher is making more mistakes. So seems like he's really struggling in these conditions. Maybe that lack of experience coming to the fore in today's Grand Prix as he gets attacked by Raikkonen. Thankfully, he doesn't lose the spot, though. Mick Schumacher actually managed to hold on and get back in front of Raikkonen. So fair play. Let's see if he can get into a rhythm and catch up to me potentially. But as we unlock more laps in this Grand Prix, we seem to just find that little bit more pace and confidence. You can see we're ranging up onto the back of Ricciardo there, nearly drilling him. I really wanted a close look at that Renault. Just have a little inspection in case I want to protest it after this race, potentially. It just depends on if he beats me or not. But Yeah, that was a close call. We've had a few of those already in this Grand Prix. Let's not have any more, shall we? Overtake and Rich on the start-finish straight. Really just testing the waters to see if we can get in front of this guy. Looks like getting moves done in a straight line isn't going to be the way to go about things. We're running with 5-7 wings, so slightly higher than what the AI are running. So if we're going to get moves done, it has to be into corners. 130R / the final chicane is one area. Maybe into Degner's 1 and 2 and the hairpin in the middle sector. That is another one. But we are getting closer to Ricciardo here, but it's turn 1's not really an overtaking zone, especially if you don't have straight line speed, as we see in AlphaTauri running wide at turns 1 and 2. These two squabbling. I'm trying to find an avenue past, but it's very risky to just send one up the inside. I've already done that a couple times this Grand Prix. I don't imagine I will do it a third time. Will I? Well, I probably will. But and in that moment, I didn't really fancy it. But we'll wait for a safer opportunity as we now have one as we go all the way around the outside into the final chicane, the Casio Triangle as they call it. And that is P13 for the taking. Thank you very much. We are getting faster as this Grand Prix wears on. It was a slower car, but that being the AlphaTauri, but I'm going to take it. Thank you very much. Tyre wear, that's something we'll need to think about. It doesn't seem to be horrible at this stage as we're now reaching our pit window. I could probably stay it out. Oh! Nice save, as we've got a yellow flag in the middle sector. That is Charles Leclerc, who is out of this Japanese Grand Prix. I'm in no rush, guys. I'm in absolutely no rush to get into the pit lane because in the last couple laps, I feel like the tyres are just getting better and better and better. Of course, the fuel load is coming off and the tyres are degrading, but not degrading by much. I feel like the rain is lessening, and it's just the feeling in the car that I've got right now. It feels like the temperatures of the tyres are really getting into their sweet spot. So I think I'm just going to stay out while the tyres feel amazing. I'm running with really low pressures, and maybe they're finally coming up to their optimal pressure or their optimal temperature, if that makes sense. As we said, a purple third sector. 15 laps into the Grand Prix, the race leaders have got fresh tyres on now, and we just went purple to the third sector. And for good measure, we're keeping Hamilton at bay, who just recently stopped and it's not overtaking us. So the pace can't be that bad if a Mercedes can't get in front of us. So we're going to stick it out here, guys, and see if we can switch to intermediate tyres, or dare I say it, maybe just go to wets. I think we're actually going to go to wets. I was considering a switch to inters over the last few laps, and Jeff was saying we're not sure about the right tyre at the moment, just hold on, but I don't think that change to inters is coming. So we're going to brave it and stay on the wets and really attack the top 10 runners for the final 10 laps of this Japanese Grand Prix. So let's see if we can make this work for us. I did check the race director and check the lap times of everyone, and I was pretty much matching those on newer tyres that I was fighting, the likes of Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Raikkonen. I think I said Raikkonen instead of Ricciardo, so I said Raikkonen twice. If I did, I apologize. Again, 3 a.m. and I'm very tired. Actually, I feel fine. It's just my brain isn't firing on all cylinders, I think. That's what the problem is. But thankfully, the car is firing on all cylinders. And let's see if we can bring this thing home with a points finish. The gap is 4 seconds to Ricciardo. We did start off with about a 5-second deficit. So we are catching. And catching at a rate of knots. So let's see if we can take this Marduk Motorsport car all the way into the points. Perez and Ricciardo are the obvious targets. There's a few more guys in that train. We'll see if we can get involved with them. But we are running out of laps here in this Japanese Grand Prix, and we're having to resort to desperate measures. Corner cutting the final chicane. That's our final warning of the race, mind you, as we set the exact same time as our last lap. Things you love to see. That robot-like consistency, which is enabling us to just creep up onto this group. The gap is about 2 seconds now. Ricciardo not really fighting these guys. They're just all in a train. It's a stalemate at the moment, all being held up by the racing points. So let's hope they fall off the cliff in terms of their tyre wear or pace or something like that, and then we can really get stuck in to these top 10 runners with about 3-4 laps to go. Putting red sectors in, so tyres might have seen their best. So we run wide onto the curve there at 130R. That's something you don't want to repeat because you'll end up sideways in a barrier. I can tell you that much from experience. But yeah, we're getting closer. Getting closer, getting closer. Do we go for a dive on Ricardo into the final chicane? Yeah, we bet you do. No words. We're through and into the points in this Japanese Grand Prix. I mean, I went for it. I fully went for it. I obviously didn't hit my marks. I went in way too deep, but it's worked out for us. And we have a singular point against our name in the Japanese Grand Prix. I don't think I've ever had to work so hard to just get 1 point before. This has been a very testing Grand Prix, and it probably won't come across in the highlights all too much, but we really have had to be very disciplined and consistent to keep this thing in a straight line. This car is an oversteering pig at the best of times, but today it's been a real challenge. This has been one of the most challenging career mode races I think I've ever had. I've really had to drive quite well to get the most out of this, and to come away with 1 point against our name for the time being, I think is nothing short of a miracle. We do have a wet setup on, but we have really had to finesse this car around the circuit. I am very, very satisfied with this Grand Prix. It's not over yet. Ricardo is coming back at us here on the final lap of this Japanese Grand Prix, so we need to, keep our wits about us. Make sure he doesn't go for the classic Ricardo dive bomb. That will be a factor to consider as we head into the final chicane. But let's see if we can go on the attack. We've got Sergio Perez just 6/10 up the road. We do have enough battery. We do have enough fuel to attack on this final lap. Valtteri Bottas claims his second win in a row, so he's mounting a championship challenge. For us, though, let's see if we can get 2 points here in this Japanese Grand Prix. We're in the slipstream. It looks like Perez isn't deploying overtake, so he leaves himself a little bit vulnerable as we go through 130R, literally pushing him. We've lost our front wing on the right-hand end plate. We dive to the inside at the Casio Triangle, and we get 9th place. We double our points tally on this final lap of the Japanese Grand Prix. I will absolutely take that. P9.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Ferme.
Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
Boring. We don't care about who's on the podium. We care about the battle for P9. That was the race today, guys. What a good Grand Prix. I don't know what to say. That was really well managed. We had really good tyre wear. We were very, very kind to our tyres, and that really got us in the game for the back end of the race. It was an orchestrated attack, trying to stay out long, because the advantage that I had on those in front of me wasn't much, and so I thought I'd give myself a better chance by having fresher tyres at the end and making the pace better in order to overtake, and I think we just gave ourselves enough time to attack and get some decent positions at the end there. P9, 2 points. It's not the greatest points tally in the world, but considering we didn't bring much to this Grand Prix, we only brought a minor front downforce upgrade, I think we still did relatively well to come away with some points today. A lot of our rivals did bring upgrades of their own, and I think we did get jumped a little bit in the development race, but to come away with more points, I'm very happy with that. We have lost places in both the drivers and the constructors, which is a slap in the face, really, after what has been, what feels like a very successful Grand Prix It's a lack of progress, but it's just how competitive the midfield is. The Racing Point guys had a good battle, had a good result. Same too did the Renaults. The Renault guys are looking pretty darn pacey at this point of the season. But guys, that has been this episode of Career Mode for today. I apologize about my commentary if it was a little bit off today. I'm quite tired, but that was simply just to give myself a day off for tomorrow to go out and do stuff that I need to do. But hopefully you guys enjoy the daily grind, and we will keep it going as long as we can. Nearly 5 mil in cash, which we will be spending very shortly. The end of the season is rapidly approaching. We're up to round 19 out of 22, and we need to decide the fate of our team and of our teammate and who we go with. I've got a couple people on my short list, but feel free to let me know who you want me to get on board. With that said, thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, I'll see you next time. P16, same for Mick as he was in Q1. It's P15 and 16 for the Marduk Motorsport boys, but it's progress. It's not too often that Mick. Wow, that is a stutter and a half.